Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I got some, we got things in the works. We got that Kickstarter next week that we're getting really excited and kind of nervous about. We're surviving from our trip to England that we kind of wind up talking about a little bit last night during the Patreon chat. A lot going on.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of stuff to get to tonight. We've got obviously we're gonna be talking about some castle because one chat is not enough for that at all. So we've got that to talk about. We've got the Humble Bundle is almost over. If people wanted to get involved with that, there's going to be a link in the description that you guys can check that out. You can get so many D&D books, PDFs for dirt cheap, and it helps out a good cause. And you may even recognize a couple of those titles in there as well. This is the best Humble Bundle ever, but we might be a little biased.
Slightly biased. Marginally biased.
Ted has a bunch of books to give away, so we're going to be announcing that in a little bit. If you want, you can even say what we're giving away, and then you can.
Absolutely. So I've got a copy of D&D Acquisitions Incorporated, as well as a whole nother role-playing game system, Encore Kingdom of the Gods, and a whole bunch of supplements and maps and whatnot that wind up going with Encore. So we'll find out who the lucky winner is of that sometime later this evening. We're also going to announce that it's Dave's turn to run a fan game, so that's going to be coming on July 28th. So stay tuned, and we'll find out who those list of lucky winners are.
Fortunate, unfortunate, as the case may be.
I don't know. After some of the things that you wound up talking about and whatnot in last night's chat about the one shots that you ran, those sounded like some pretty amazing games.
Yeah, I can't really take credit for it. I blame the players, or I mean, give credit to the players.
Give credit, blame. 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
There's something to be said for playing a game with players that really want to play and do stuff. It makes your job as the DM so much easier, especially if you're willing to just roll with it.
Yeah. We can also announce that this Friday, Brian from the World of Revelo is going to be running a game here on the channel, and you're going to be a player in that.
So I'll address this one in the chat. Yeah. So it's only going to be good for the stuff on the store, not the actual merchandise, because that's a separate store that's through Spreadshirt. So we can't. We can't. I don't think we could authorize that anyway. But that being said, there was also a problem with the Nerdarchy store, which we discovered the hard way, and the people weren't able to buy. But it is fixed now, and sales have gone through. Well, knock on wood, it's fixed now. Thanks to our friend Brian Collin, actually, from the creator of Revelo, who found the problem for us. So if you go over there, you should be able to order the digital stuff that we're going to put on the store. And also, if you decide to wait, we're going to be putting a bunch more stuff up over the next week or so anyway. Just because we want to make sure the store is full with digital products for when we do launch the Kickstarter. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff over there now, but we want even more. And there's a reason for it that you'll see when the Kickstarter launches next week. Yeah, shirts and stuff like that. That's through Spreadshirt, and that's not actually our store per se. It's print on demand.
So you're responding to all kinds of comments that I'm just not seeing. Like,
I told them specifically to type them in invisible ink that you could not read.
That's why.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in your chat. I see them just fine.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Is what it is.
Yeah, but we do have a bunch of cool stuff over there. We haven't updated the store in a while though. We're gonna have to find some new things to put over there. Maybe something about being world-class dungeon masters or something. I don't know.
Well, that's technically a thing now for Nerdarchy. So we could come up with a world-class DM shirt.
Yeah, I think so. So what we're kind of alluding to is the fact that, I just recently got back from the UK. Ted has been back about a week and a half now. I've been back going on a week, and we were over there for D&D in a castle where, well, as one would suspect from that name, we went to a castle and played D&D.
You got to play D&D in multiple castles, so it's pretty lucky experience there.
Yes, it was really awesome. Both of the castles were awesome, and the experience was really cool. And also just hanging out with all the people in the community from D&D in a castle. And I can't wait till we get more of the photographs back from it that were shot by the professional photographer, Romy.
Yep.
Because he is friggin' amazing. He is like a wizard with that camera. The things that he did, I'm like, we look like human beings in those pictures. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean the one picture with the GMs gathered around and whatnot that you shared and I wound up sharing as well. Like that's gotten a lot of really cool feedback that I've seen, and I can only imagine what the rest of that's going to be when we get to see what the rest of the stuff that he took was, because I thought it was just a fantastic experience. Excited to go back again next year. It's going to be an even bigger and more amazing experience, considering how we're taking over the castle. So there's not going to be any normals there at all. So that's
no muggles.
That's gonna, I think, really rev it up and allow people to get into it a lot more. So I'm excited.
Yeah, maybe I should have put a link to D&D in the castle in the description. But if you just Google D&D in the castle, it'll come up. There is not a ton of them happening. So yeah, so you mentioned next year, right? And next year, what they're doing is they're going to have 13 tables, so 13 dungeon masters, 3 different weeks, so for a total of 39 dungeon masters, and a whole lot of D&D players over the course of 3 weeks.
If you look at, if they're going to fill everything up, that's 6 players per table. So 6 times 13 times 3. I don't feel like doing the math on that one. So that's a lot of D&D going to happen.
Well, so it's 78 times 3. So that's like 210. It's like 234 or something like that. I don't know. My math. Someone will have to double check my math. But it's a lot of D&D players. Although, like this year, there was several people that did multiple castles. I believe there was at least 4 people that did multiple castles that I'm aware of.
I know Scott was in your game, and he stayed on to do another one.
Yeah.
And I think one of your other players went in to do another castle as well.
Yeah, well, that player actually did 3 castles. And then I know Liz and Kat, they were doing 2 castles. So, like I said, there was at least 4. Oh, and then there was another gentleman. I'm forgetting his name and it's driving me nuts. But that actually went to the next castle and it was like, yeah, I want to stay for another, and they just squeezed them in. So at least 5 people did multiple castles.
That's awesome that they just kind of added an extra player in.
Oh, poor Yachty. I listen to you guys every day, even though my high data usage has suffered drastically. You guys are awesome. Thanks. We appreciate you hanging out with us.
Much appreciated. So, do we want to give some kind of highlights of our castle?
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about this one. Fraginator. My wife has already been informed that I will be out of the country September 10th through 14th next year. Ooh.
You're gonna, yeah. Frag was telling me that he is planning on attending.
Well,
find a way to make it work.
Well, one of the cool things is, I'm not gonna lie, folks, it's an expensive vacation. But one of the cool things is you can put your money down and secure your spot, and it's completely refundable, almost like all the way up until. So, that part is pretty decent. So if you think you want to do it, you can go. You can put it in, try and get the DMs you want, the castles you want, that kind of thing. So it's pretty, that part they're pretty flexible with. So what moments did you want to talk about?
I mean, we shared some awesome memories last night. But I think like the coolest thing that I would want to kind of reiterate would be to go in depth into what we did for our final encounter.
Okay.
So basically, Dave, Doug, and I, we were the premier, the world class GMs for our 3 days. We went and we sat and planned for 7 months. We were gonna run
Wait a minute. I can't help but giggle when you say that though. 'Cause, world
well,
class.
it's there, dude. We have to live it up. We have to play it up. Call it what you will, but I'm doing my best to try and own that. Regardless of whatever. But we planned for 7 months that we were going to run these 6 sessions. We put a whole lot of world building into what we were doing, and the idea was that we were going to run concurrent storylines. All of us, all of our characters were in the same space. We tried to, or at least I know, like I made my group loosely aware that there were other adventurers here doing, different things as well. And we had a rough outline that we were to all follow, and it all led up to an encounter at the end. And this encounter was up against an undead elder brain. And we toyed around with for a while of, oh, do we want to have everybody in the same room? Do we want to, run it individually, but like have there like be like mists and shadows or some kind of barrier where you're seeing through, but you can't affect the other side to know that there's other adventurers? And, we went back and forth, and we ultimately decided, screw it, we're doing it big. We put all 17 players in one room. All three of us, kind of sat in the middle. So the players were in this U-shaped, set of tables with each DM group sitting together at one of these, sides of the U, where the three of us kind of sat, in these, big immense chairs. We put the battle grid out in front of us, and one grouping at a time, wound up having their minis placed on the map. Dave ran the Elder Brain as as his part of the initiative. I ran the 8 Shield Guardians that were attached to the Elder Brain. Yes, 8 Shield Guardians versus attached to one huge undead Elder Brain. And then Doug ran the legendary actions, the lair actions, and initiative. And it was a 2.5-hour battle, and it was just, in my opinion, everything that one would want for an epic encounter.
Yeah, I mean, the most impressive thing to me was everyone just came together and did what they needed to do to make it function and operate smoothly as it did. And frankly, Doug was a superhero with tracking a lot of the things that needed tracking.
I thought the players really stepped up. They enjoyed the encounter. There were definitely times where I was worried for the players as they were wound up becoming a little bit tentative at the start. We wound up going into it knowing that one of the players was already turncoat. There was the possibility, I found out afterwards, that my group had a meeting apart from me to decide whether or not they wanted to join up. So like that could have definitely gone in a different way if 5 players, added onto the mix to turn on their supposed allies.
Well, it would have been 6.
Well, yeah, it would have been 5 additional. I mean,
Yeah.
that would have been out of the 17 fighting it, it would really have been 11. Like
It would have been brutal. So I dropped some of those links in the chat in case people want to check it out. There's D&D in the Castle. Also, the Humble Bundle, which is kind of a pay-what-you-want deal, so you can jump in on that. It's a great deal. But yeah, like, my player was so happy when I told him to betray a particular character in the game. Yeah, apparently, unbeknownst to me, there was some PvP action the night before, and that player was playing a Tabaxi, and the Tabaxi decided to side with the villain in that particular game that Lisa Penrose was running. And Scott was my player who ended up getting mind controlled by the Elder Brain. In the other game though, when he was playing the other cat, the other campaign, he's like, if you attack me one more time, I'm going to turn your claws into a necklace. And he attacked him, and he never got to get his retribution. So when I was like, I need you to act normal for the first round and just do goofy stuff, and the second round, kill the goblin. And he was like, yes, because the goblin was the same player as the Tabaxi. And he did. He dropped him. One round. He unloaded everything he had into him.
He was a battle master rogue halfling who fought with a sling, right?
Yes. And so he had a cool magic item that I made. I thought it was cool anyway. The ghost sling. So it was a magic weapon, but when you fire it, a sling bullet out of it, a second spectral one would follow it and hit whatever the first one hits for an additional, I think I was doing a die 10 force damage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that item gets added into the magic items for that castle.
So Rob J, 70 players, 3 DMs, only 2.5 hours. That's good that everyone had to pay attention to upcoming turns. That must have been epic to see played out. It was really impressive. We had a player in that game, Sue. She had come with her son Mason. Mason was in my group. Sue was in Doug's group. And she had never played Dungeons and Dragons before, and they decided to go to separate tables and do their own things. And so she learned at D&D in the castle. And I want to tell you, by the time we got to that epic final encounter, you would have never picked her out and been like, that's a player that's never played the game before. Like, she was like, I'm doing this, and this is what it does, and there's the range, and like, she knew everything, and was an amazing player. And really caught on quick, especially because the way we did it, like we leveled the characters really fast. So, she had to figure all that out, being a first time player.
That could be intimidating for some people, but she was a real trooper. I wound up talking to Sue and Mason a little bit on the bus ride, either to or from Durham. I think it was from. And Mason was like, talking about going next year. He's like, I wonder if I can get Dad to go. So.
Yeah, but his dad doesn't like to fly or something.
I do believe that was what was said.
They have to do. They just have to do the B.A. Baracus thing, They're just good to knock him out, get him on the plane.
Yeah, I think there's rules about bringing an unconscious person onto a plane.
That's why you're probably going to have to weekend and Bernie's it. We're going to have to combine all the things from the 80s and 90s. If television and movies have taught me anything, we can make this work. J.E., thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we could definitely make that work. Drug him, weekend at Bernie's, boom, he's on the plane playing D&D before you know it. Like, D&D's like that, though, right? Because there was, I was at the second castle running games for one-shots, and... so I ran the one night, and then I ran 2 the one day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. Then I ran in the morning of the third day, because we have 30-day sessions. But apparently, after people got out of their final session, there was a lot of players that actually wanted to run games. So there wasn't really as much need for a one-shot GM. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just go drink. And I was minding my own business. Going to the bar, get a rum and coke, and boom, next thing you know, I'm playing first edition Dungeons and Dragons with Stefan Pogorny from Dwarven Forge. It just happens.
Hey, it's sometimes that stuff happens. So we got to use the Dwarvenite, the Dwarven Forge stuff. I seriously took the opportunity to heart and made sure that I put together a battle map for each particular session that I ran. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was definitely cool to get exposed to all of the neat and nifty stuff. We put together Ash from D&D in a Castle and we put together the map for the final encounter. We added in some fun extra visual things that it's like, oh, let's see what the players do or what things the DMs might get inspired by, which I thought was really cool because it gave the spellcaster something to animate for animate objects. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say with certainty from very heartfelt me and Doug, we enjoyed looking at it on the tables in the rooms.
I mean, every GM's got their style, and I looked at it as like, okay, well, the players got access to their minis, and I enjoy putting that stuff out there. I enjoy taking a little bit of time to be like, okay, let's craft this scene that they can see what's going on. Even when my players went up fighting a young green dragon, I put my the coins that I used to give out for inspiration. I put them on the battle map and sat the dragon on top of it, so it looked like he was sitting on a hoard of gold.
You just wanted to make Constantine work. I know it.
Constantinos didn't do any of that stuff. Like, he kept saying, like, "Oh, let me know if there's something you need. Let me know if there's something you need."
Ted's like, "Get out of my way! Let me at it. I got Dwarvenite, and I'm building stuff."
It wasn't until like we were planning that final encounter and we decided that we were definitely doing this, all together. That I'm like, all right, I need every little base flat piece that we can get to make something that's big enough. And then it was like, well, can we put it on a board so that we can just transfer it to the location? And like, we get an hour, in between lunch and in between sessions, 5 and 6 to get this done, and you have to eat in that time frame as well. So it was like, it was a little bit of a time crunch.
It wasn't so bad.
Well, yeah, you didn't have to do anything. I did it all. It was for that one. It was me, Ash, and Constantinos who wound up, getting that together, and then we wound up getting some of the castle staff to like get it into the right place, so that we didn't have to go up and down extra flights of stairs.
You got to use the secret passages in the castle.
We got secret passages to move it.
That is the cool thing about the Lumley Castle over the Langley. It was more like labyrinthian and twisting and turning halls, where the other one is like a tower. It's like a set of stairs, basically, up and down.
Right.
And that was kind of it.
So did you have a favorite room that you gamed in Lumley?
Nah, not really. I mean, I thought they were all equally cool. Like, the first room was a little dark when we first started, and once we figured out, got situated, it wasn't bad.
Was that the guild or the...
Yeah,
dungeon?
that was the guild. I never did the dungeon. I did the guild, the Cuthbert, and... What was the other one?
Sandbeck?
Yeah, Sandbeck. Sandbeck was actually the most conducive to being a regular game room. It had some, a little bit less of the castle trappings.
The Sandbeck, really was the most open and brightly lit room, but to me it felt like the least like a castle. I started there and I moved, to the dungeon for the guard room, and then moved to the guild room. So I was happy when we decided that, hey, we're gonna wind up moving to the ballroom for the final encounter, because the guild room was just so dark.
Yeah, it was a little bit dark. Well, this no one used the Sept, but the Sept would have been pretty cool. That was a cool room.
Which one was that?
That was the one between the dining room, the restaurant, and the guild.
The Scepter. Yeah. Scepter is pretty nice, but I don't think they use that as a gaming room. That's more for overflow from the dining room.
Yeah. No, I know. That's what I said. No one used it. But next year, I bet it's getting used.
Oh, probably.
And they're going to be using, they're going to have to use everything, so.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that's where they got the 13, is there's 13 gaming spaces.
So, Camrad 2261, hey Nerdarchy, if I hit the lottery, what about D&D in Fenway? For the right price, you can get us anywhere. The bar's really low. No, that would be cool. I mean, one of the cool things about doing Nerdarchy is us traveling, go places, and playing D&D at those places.
And meeting awesome, fans and awesome gamers.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's weird. It's weird to be like where we're at now, doing what we've done. Um, I've now been to 3 different countries from D&D, because of D&D essentially. We hit Mexico with the fantasy cruise, and it wasn't directly because of D&D, but indirectly, if it wasn't for D&D, we wouldn't be doing Nerdarchy, right? And we wouldn't have had the success of what we've had. D&D in the castle was France and the UK for me. So who knows what's next? D&D on the moon.
I think that one's going to be a little bit harder to make happen, but
With that attitude, it will be.
Give it 10, 20 years. We'll see what technology does. We'll see where Nerdarchy is, and we'll see how we can make that happen.
So and then we've gamed in many states at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and gamed in international waters.
Well, you have that distinction, sir.
I do.
I do not.
But you also have the D&D in France, and I don't. So I thought it was really fun to run that game on the cruise. Feeling the I can't say feeling the boat move because we didn't. But I played a whole sea adventure, which I thought was a lot of fun. The anti-pirates.
Yeah, I mean, your players had a lot of fun, and even Brian Stillman from Eye of the Beholder, The Art of D&D, still talks about that game.
Oh, that is awesome to hear.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Brian Collin had tweeted out about picking up, or no, I guess he got a digital copy of the movie.
Yeah, he says he just he was talking on Facebook about just recently watching Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah, so I
watch it.
I retweeted it, and it's funny because earlier that day I was talking to Brian Stillman on the phone about something different, and then Brian had hit me up on Facebook. He's like, "Hey, who's this Brian Collin guy?" Because he's watching my stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, you should check him out." I'm surprised I haven't talked to you guys about him yet. Cause I know I showed Seth when Seth had came to do a screening of Eye of the Beholder at Camden. There was a Camden Comic-Con type thing on the Camden County campus. So I was like, I know he was setting up, and I was pestering him. I'm like, "Hey, have you seen this before? You need to see this. Everyone needs to see this."
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about Revelo. We should let people know that down in the description is the link to his Kickstarter. If you want to get your own campaign setting or bestiary or both for the world of Revelo, definitely recommend doing so. You could join me in getting the everything tier, be an awesome Revelo supporter.
You could absolutely do that. There's a couple of them in there that we've got the Dungeon Craft Kickstarter that just dropped either yesterday or today. That's going on, and they're doing some sponsorship with us, so we like to shout them out. Jetpack 7, they've got goddesses and gods and goddesses of the Redux going on right now. There's a link to that. They put out some really fantastic looking products. You already mentioned the Revlo, and also Destination Fantastic. I don't think I got a link in the description yet, but that's Satine Phoenix and Stefan Picorni's new project that just dropped either today or yesterday.
I saw something about it dropping yesterday.
Yeah, so they've been promoting that, and that's going on. So if you're fans of them, you might want to check that out. So that's they're doing this travel show about myths and fantasy, and being inspired by that kind of stuff. So that should be cool.
The people from Dungeon Craft, they actually reached out to us a while ago, knowing that they wanted to do this Kickstarter. They had a couple preview books that they had put together, and honestly, just before they sent it to me, I wound up ramshackling something for some terrain, and when the book showed up, I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. I only have so much space to store terrain type stuff, and their book is just full of those 2D cutouts that are double sided on heavy cardstock, and it was honestly, as soon as I started looking, I'm like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is just perfect. So if you like using a battle mat but don't want to make a whole lot of terrain and make a whole lot of stuff, and you're cool with using 2D stuff, this book is perfect. It's over 1,000 objects. It's just I can't talk enough good about that book.
Sold. That is awesome, and there's a place for all that stuff. Folks, if you have questions, just like put question in front of it or GM911, and if we see them, we'll pick them out. We usually are better about saying that earlier in the show. We just haven't. We've just been gabbing about stuff. I see you guys have been talking too. Like, we're having our own conversations. Like, me and Ted are talking about stuff, and you guys are talking about completely different stuff. It's all good. So, we do have some stuff to get to. What do you want to do first, Ted? Do you want to announce the game, or do you want to give away stuff?
We'll just do the giveaway. As we said, I've got a copy of Acquisitions Inc., the newly released D&D book. If you want to add some extra cool stuff to your D&D game, this is one way to do it, as well as the complete rule book and some accessories for the role-playing game Encore, Kingdom of the Gods, and that is going to go to Carl Matson. I will reach out to you via email either tonight or tomorrow and get your address and send those things your way. So we definitely want to thank the people over at Chris Miller Games who had sent this to us, as well as the WotC team and PR360 for sending us the Acquisitions Inc.
Do you want to tell Ted? Do you want to tell the folks how Carl Matson was able to win those?
So we have two ways if you want to get in on any of our monthly giveaways. You could go over to our website, go to the section for contests and giveaways, download the form, print it out, mail it to our PO box, which is there, and making sure it's all filled out and whatnot, and that gets you one entry into our giveaway. You can only get one entry a month that way, and it's only valid for 1 month. Or you could go over to the Patreon for Nerdarchy, sign up for as little as $1 a month, and should you do so, you automatically get entered into it, as well as getting in whatever other awesome fun things you wind up doing for Patreon, like automatically getting entered into our monthly fan games that we do. Dave and I take turns running those games. So those are the two ways that you can get in on our giveaways. These giveaways, we basically they're like a minimum of $50. So if you go in at $1 a month, that's a good solid 4 years worth of giveaways if you win one. This month, Acquisitions Inc. is a $49.99 MSRP, and I'm not seeing MSRP on this one, but it's a good solid.
Must be free.
326 page book. So I would rank that at least a $40 book. So it's $90 worth of stuff minimum that we're sending out.
So what is that? 90 months.
90 months. That's it's almost a good solid 8ish plus years.
And also, I guess we should mention the fact that we have too much stuff right now. Ted has been complaining at me, going, we need to get rid of some of this stuff. My house is overflowing with stuff. So the giveaways are going to be bigger over the next couple months for sure. We're going to be putting together...
We're not quite purging, but in a few weeks' time, Dave and I are going to be road tripping out to Gen Con. And I know last year we came back with a good couple months worth of stuff. We got stuff from I think Legendary Games, Jetpack 7, as Dave previously mentioned, and I think a couple others. But since we'll be road tripping, we've got the capacity to bring back more. So
Ted loves stuff. It doesn't even matter that he's not going to keep it or not. He's a dragon. Ted is actually a polymorph dragon. Except for having a love for gold and gems, he loves plastic and books.
Plastic and books, yeah.
Plastic and paper. He doesn't sleep in a bed like normal people. I'm telling you, he just sleeps in a pile of stuff. His wife hates it.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Keep hoarding. eat knights that come to take your stuff and rescue the princess. So, game. Let's do that next.
All right. So you said that you're going to do this game on July 28th, a few days before we head out to that aforementioned Gen Con.
Yes. Oh yeah. By the way, folks, you want to hang out with us? We'll be at Gen Con. I'm going to put it in my calendar right now so I don't forget.
So that's a Sunday. You said 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, 2 p.m. I like that time. It's a good time.
And this will not be a streamed game. So that if you wind up being a player, you don't have to worry about performing for the internet or any kind of net issues. You just go and have fun. So I got to say this name comes up pretty often. But our first player, Kurt Yost. Then we have Derek Vance. We have a number of names that they decided not to give us a last name, so we just have a first name. We have Shannon, William, and Mark. So you'll have to wait and see if it was you who did that, or if you didn't give a last name. You have to wait for that email. We have our Australian friend Alexander Stubley, Devin Crawford, Simon Grossman, Michael Dublock, and Nathaniel Coster. So Dave is going to reach out to those people, and I guess the first 5 that are willing and able to respond and make that time frame will be the players in the game. And if not enough people from that list goes, then Dave will reach out via a number of different methods to try and fill up that game.
Yeah, we'll either go to Discord or we'll go to the Company of the Nag on Facebook, or we'll just shoot a message over on Patreon. So we will fill the roster somehow. And also, if you want to get in those games, there's 2 ways to get in. One is to be a patron at any level, and the other is join our newsletter, and there's instructions to get on a totally separate list that the only thing we use that for is we don't email you from it. We just use that for emails to pick players for the games.
So we only email you if you get selected, and obviously if you want a game with us. So
yes, and if you do both, that means you just have 2 entries in the monthly game. So there's that. Also, so we've been mentioning the Kickstarter. We'll be gearing up for that Monday. We're going to drop that Monday 6 a.m. Eastern time. So you can expect more information on that, especially if you check out our Monday morning video. There will definitely be information there, and we're super excited. We've been getting together all the assets and everyone we're collabing with to do this and make it come to fruition, and it is just looking so awesome.
This is something that we've had in the works for quite a long time, and to see the pieces of the puzzle all just lining up. The artwork looks amazing. I think the team that we've put together to make this happen is really really dynamite. I'm loving everything I'm seeing. I don't know how much we want to tease out or talk about, but I'm definitely...
Well, we can definitely say what the product is.
Yeah, so it's out of the box encounters. It's planned that we've got 30 encounters that we're going to be able to have so that you can drop right into your game. It's going to have all the cool stuff. It's going to we've got stretch goals for not forever, but quite a lot of them lined up and decided already with some cool industry people who are going to get in on the book if we get to their level. We've got Sarah Dallinger, who's done the cover art for it, and totally amazed at how that wound up coming out.
Yeah, so I don't know. We're not doing like secret levels, right? Pretty much. We can tell. I guess we can tell them,
Sure.
who are like. So we have some guest encounters that are going to be our stretch goals, and I'm super excited to be working with all of these people. We've got Lisa Penrose. She's the Adventure League community manager as well as the DM Guild community manager. We've got James Intercasso, which is Don't Split the Podcast Network, Tabletop Babble. He's actually worked on quite a few of Wizards of the Coast products, Kobold Press products. He's a freelance writer and all around good dude. And I got to hang out with him in the castle again.
I hung out with him in a diner.
Close enough. Castle diner, yeah, same difference. And we got Guy Schlanders from How to Be a Great Game Master. So super excited. We've got Jacob from XP to Level 3. And we got one more, right? CJ
from Don't Stop Thinking.
And CJ from Don't Stop Thinking. So I'm really excited to be working with all these people and having them on board on the project because they're all people that we greatly respect and enjoy their content. And quite a few of them, when we were doing the daily live chats, have been on the show. I think everyone but Guy was, and the only reason we never were able to have Guy on is because he was in South Africa and the time zones just didn't work.
Yeah, I got time zones and internet and day jobs, and things are can definitely be challenging. So all of you awesome fans out there that are potentially interested in getting your first official hardcover Nerdarchy product. This is definitely the way to do it. Although you don't have to get a physical copy if you prefer more of the digital stuff. But I'm going to ask that after this product goes live, please tell your friends, please share it out on social media. Let's get as much coverage on this thing as possible, and let's make this thing fund as quickly as possible.
That sounds like a plan. So we mentioned Gen Con, so I'll be at Gen Con playing in a Saver Dice game. So there is a Saver Dice live game that you can go sign up for on Gen Con right now, the event. I don't know. I think we still have some space over there, so you can definitely go do that. I think Ted will be there hanging out and around, so you'll be able to hang out with Ted as well.
So I'm there. I know that we had set up to do something with Live Dungeon. I know that
True Dungeon.
True Dungeon. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. I know that there's plans to, not plans, but I'm prepping that at some point in time someone's gonna be like, hey, let's put a game together. But we're not doing our crazy days of filming that we did last year. So there's definitely going to be more hangout time and more time for doing gaming.
Yeah, that was nuts. We did like 21 videos in 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah. So
I mean, it was awesome to get to see those people and talk to them and what have you. But I think it kind of detracted from the con experience and being able to do a handful of events and whatnot when we're out there trying to get this to happen.
So yeah, we won't be doing that insanity, but it'll still be fun. Let's see. Will he be storming the Gothic castle during the Saver Dice game? I have no idea what's going to happen. I think Guy's going to end up running. So we might we might revisit Caro Stones.
So you're planning a one shot, or are you?
No, well, whatever it is, it's going to be independent from our normal games.
Okay.
Well, because it would be unfair to the people that tune in every week and watch us. And then if we were to do something at Gen Con that was related, they would they would miss that. So
it's not going to be recorded or streamed.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. We haven't figured out the logistics for that.
Okay.
Plus, in a live environment, it is pretty hard to do. And even we've tried it, we've done it in the past and have brought people in and kind of did something like that. And it's expensive, and it still didn't come out all that great. So definitely not worth the money.
I can make a joke, but I'll let it go.
Yeah, so that comment was from the Dream Syndicate Art Dolls, whatever that is.
I think you know that person.
I think so too. I changed that person's diapers. For any of you because people still ask what happened to Nate and Ryan. That is Ryan. Dream Syndicate Art Dolls. He's making art dolls, as the name would imply. There's some really cool, fantastical stuff over there. You can find them on YouTube and Facebook as well, and Instagram. If
you get into sculpting, or you want to see how he does his stuff, there's definitely some entrancing and cool videos that he does. I've checked out a handful of them, and it's definitely enjoyable.
Yeah, I think recently played with some stop motion animation a little bit. Sweet. Which was kind of cool. So you guys can definitely check that out. Everyone thinks we usurped Nerdarchy and threw them out or something, but I'm like, that's not what happened at all. They had better things to do.
And Nate
tier.
went on to be a trucker.
And now, yeah, and now Nate's a mother trucker with all them kids.
How many does he have now?
17.
17?
Something like that. It's hard. It's hard to, work, raise 50 kids, and, have an internet business at the same time. Man Shorts is funny. Have you checked them out, Ted?
I've seen a handful of them. I mean, they've been around for years. I don't know if they actually do anything related to fifth. I think a lot of their terminology and stuff is still very third edition.
Yeah, but it's all comedy stuff anyway. It's not like it matters.
Yeah, true.
It's definitely just a comedy show. OG wants to know, Nerdarchist Bros, what do you think? Do you think a Hellhound is a good animal companion? Well, it's funny you should mention animal companions and whether it's a good one or not, because I had the characters in my one shot acquire an animal companion early on in one of in the one shot. They are kind of like transported someplace. They wake up, and there's a monster crashing through the trees. And it is a two-headed, mutated, tentacled T-Rex, which is really wrecking the party until they polymorph it into a goldfish. And the one character then puts it in his mug. And then the other character casts speak with animals and casts gaze on it. And then once it turns back from a goldfish to the mutated two-headed, tentacled T-Rex, another player casts tongues on it in order for it to understand, so they could train it to do some tricks. Sure, why not? Hellhand, go for it.
In my RPG Crate game, the first session there was a starving winter wolf. It might have been a pup or just a young one that they had encountered, and when Megan's character wound up, Dante is his name, and when Dante wound up finding this thing, Dante's like, well, forget forget fighting it. He offered it food. Well, I'm like, hey, I asked Megan out of game, I'm like, do you plan on going Ranger at all? Megan was like, I wasn't planning. Why do you ask? I'm like, oh, well, if you went Ranger, this could totally be an animal companion for you. So Dante wound up becoming a Ranger at some point. So this thing wound up following Dante around for a number of sessions before he could acquire it as an animal companion. So Snow's been around from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, like, if people come up with stuff in game and they role play it, I'm definitely likely to go with it. All right, so Zaref Gaming had a question. Sorry, Zaref, I had missed it. I had to go back and find it. Speaking of castles, what would you say is the essential buildings to a castle when a party is building a castle? Privy? You gotta go. I
was going to say the lavatories. If you're going to build a castle, I think, you need some kind of dungeon. You need somewhere to lock people up. It's inevitable.
That went really dark really fast, or is that a kink? I'm not shaming. But, I think it really depends on your players and the characters, or if you're doing it, what character you're playing. Like, what would be essential to the character? What's important to that character? You said lavatory, but a laboratory would actually be really important if maybe you're playing a wizard or some kind of alchemist character. I know in your game, when I built something for my character, I liked the forge. The smithy was the most important area for that character. Right. So yeah, so it's gonna change from character to character.
But I mean, you're gonna want a ballroom. You're gonna want if there's any ruling class in the castle, you're gonna want a throne room or some kind of sitting room. Obviously you're gonna need rooms for people to stay. Library is super important. To house all the information and all of your records and books and what have you. Obviously, you should have some kind of vault or treasury somewhere to keep, all of your magic items and things safe. I mean, there's plenty of rooms that jump to mind that are like necessary. But like, can you really decide on what is the quintessential? What do you need to have first? I don't really think you could go there.
Also, I think he's speaking from the player's perspective as well. Like they're building a castle.
Oh, okay.
What's
Well,
important to them?
then yeah, I will have to concede to your consensus that yes, what's important to them is what's going to be the most important thing to them.
Yeah. So it's very personalized in my opinion. Like if you're playing a cleric, like yeah, the chapel or the temple is going to be the most important thing. It might even that might be the heart of the castle as opposed to other castles.
Right.
There was a question here. Okay, Eric. Have you guys ever used famous NPCs like Xanathar, Volo, or Big B?
I don't think so.
Nope. Well, so here's the thing: we don't really play in established worlds. The closest, like I ran an Eberron game for a while, but Eberron is really cool the way they do their NPCs, because the NPCs are all pretty much scrubs, right? Like a super uber powerful NPC in Eberron is like 12th level. It's built like they built that campaign with the idea that the players were going to be the important people in the game.
Now, if you say, have you used, characters of legendary, influence or might over the course of your games of running? Yes. I mean, are they wildly recognized by the players when they first come upon them? Not really. Like you might make a check and be like, oh, okay, I know who that is. But as Dave says, we don't run things in those pre-planned worlds. Therefore, when you see that, red-robed wizard with that, small beard, and be like, oh yeah, that's clearly Elminster. But we're not in Forgotten Realms. We're not in Faerun. So there is no need for Elminster to be in any of our games.
Yeah, and I think our style of play kind of leans away from that anyway. Like we sometimes bring on guest GMs that'll come and run stuff for us, at Ted's table, and we kind of universally hate it when they use a lot of like famous NPCs. It's like we want our characters to be the center of the attention, and for the table, for not just like me and Ted, but just the table in general, for it to be about that group and not about like this guest NPC this week, or the worst that a GM can do is roll dice against themselves. I don't know. It just bugs me. To that point, you're just playing with yourself and for all your friends to see. And I think we should all be telling the story together. So if you're going to use NPCs and have them do something, I prefer that a GM just narrate their place in the story.
Now, everybody's got their style, and if that's how your table runs, we're not going to tell you that that's wrong and that you shouldn't do it. It's just that's our preference. We want our characters to be the one that is integral to the story. We want our characters and our actions and the players' dice rolls to decide, where that story winds up going. Not, okay, we assisted this dude.
So this is an odd question. I don't know that I have an answer for it, but I'll see if you do. Sure. Wandering Monk 68. What are some of your guys' favorite castle tropes? I'm not even sure what a castle trope would be.
I'm not certain.
Like like ye old medieval fantasy castle, under the sea castle, flying castle in the clouds. Like, are they the castle tropes? I don't know.
I mean, I definitely did a, floating sky city in the Curse of Narcissus game. City's called Glory. I thought that was a lot of fun, but I mean, I didn't really make it as, castle. I don't know. I mean, it was definitely. Wandering Monk 66 is like floating castle in the sky. So apparently you're spot on. No, I mean, we haven't really done much in the way of non-standard castles. Like I said, I did do the floating one. We haven't done a whole lot of underwater stuff in recent years.
Oh, Ryan. So, I mean, we've done different things, though. I feel like some of the outcasts buildings were kind of fortified and like castles, but just because of the environment, it really kind of changed it and made a
Yeah.
different dynamic to it.
And I would say Falstaven, kind of fits that build a little bit as well. Being built on the lava fissure.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, we definitely have done some. So have you guys ever created a new DD for one of your players? She decided to play a cleric or all the time. Like we don't really. So sometimes we do not flesh out our campaign worlds until we're playing. So, like when we do that, I think I can speak for Ted and myself. We're definitely of the like, well, what do you want your DD to be like, and willing to be kind of hammer it out with the player, and then bam, it's a god in the world.
Years ago, Ulfgania was a very fleshed out. We had a map. We had all of the gods. We had all of these cities. Everything was done as far as that was concerned, and we had an exact 30 count deity profiles. They were set into greater, mediocre, or greater, regular, and lesser gods. They were spread out amongst good and evil, chaos and law, neutral. I mean, we had it, really well split.
There was charts and graphs.
Yeah, but we used to get together for fun and let's flesh out our campaign world in our younger days. But when we started, our current campaign world, we decided we were going to start playing, and as we've said before, we're going to start here and we're going to build out. Well, unfortunately, with multiple games running over multiple areas, sometimes overlapping, sometimes not, we now all have a different concept of what our map looks like. We never got to, hey, what are all the gods? So some things were completely ported over from the old Ulfgania. Now that's Ulfgania, just the name of a continent in this world. And some things were like, hey, well, let's create this on the fly. We ran Nate's cleric for a long time without a name for his god. Like it was just like, it's your deity. And eventually, I think Nate was like, screw it. It's called Gaius now. End of story. And like, okay, done. When Sophie started a cleric in my game, she wants to worship, light and the flame and what have you. It's all about purity and goodness. I was like, well, we don't have that god yet. What's it called? So like, that had to be created specifically for her character. So 100% yes.
We do that. So Rob wants to know, Nerdarchist Ted, are there a chance we see you playing on Saver Dice in the future? Well, Saver Dice is a show where we tell dick jokes and sometimes play Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if Ted's qualified for that show or not. He's got to level up his dick jokes a little bit, I think.
Well, I can tell dick jokes and this and that. I did a season of Saver Dice when we did the Numenera game that Mike ran. That was fun. I don't know whether it's because they've got lots of other people to ask, whether it's because I've somehow offended Cody, or whether it's because we already have a slot slated for Nerdarchy already on the channel. But I have not been asked yet. So who knows what the future will hold? But maybe yes, maybe no. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. You know what? We actually try and split up things. I think if anything, if you ended up doing a season of Saver Dice, I would probably pop out. Because we like to mix up and have different brands on there.
And I totally get that, and I totally understand. I'm not in any way, shape, or form offended by not being on the regular Saver Dice.
We'll have to work harder next time.
I see. It was intentional.
So we're getting close to that time, and I just got a text message from Satine. Hey, calling all folks in our crew, please repost Destination Fantastic, post on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Pretty please, this is my first Kickstarter, and we want to kick ass. So there you go. Go check out Destination Fantastic.
Go check it out.
Yeah, I've already put the link in the chat. I'll drop it in the chat one more time before we leave. I'm gonna give you guys the Humble Bundle, and I'll have to also go back and add them to the description as well, so you folks can find them. But you know, the project that they're working on is really cool. They're really cool people, so we like to support cool people doing cool things for sure. And all right, I'll have to find that other link for you folks and make sure we get that out there. But I'm sure if you just go to Facebook or if you Google Kickstarter Destination Fantastic, it'll come up, and you can see the really fun video they did as kind of their pilot, for sure. So with that, it's that time. So we're gonna do what we normally do at that time. Till next time, stay nerdy.